I just felt like here's a company and a guy incredibly focused on sustainability, trying to do something that no other car company was doing and be 100% electric. And yeah, we connected, and I don't know, the rest is kind of the history that's around us. Elon's a great boss. I mean, he's always pushing the boundaries, always pushing the limits, and always keeps us trying to be as radical as possible, never accepting the status quo, always trying to take one extra step to make sure something is perfect. Always pushing us and getting the best out of everybody on the team.
I'm curious if you have a favorite design, favorite feature, something that you're most proud of.
Favorite one is the one that's coming. I think that we can't talk about.
Boy oh boy, is this one going to be juicy. Today, an interview with Franz von Holzhausen, Tesla's lead designer, sharing insights about Elon Musk's leadership, Tesla's design process, their absolutely insane sense of urgency, explaining why the Cybertruck looks the way it does. And most important of all, it seems Franz has inadvertently leaked information that Tesla has not one, but two new products in the pipeline, one of which is obviously the compact Tesla vehicle, and the other, well, this is the one we don't really know about. Well, most of us. I have a feeling that some guy on YouTube made a video about that other product about 3 years ago saying it would be coming soon. This is a very, very juicy video. And a quick heads up, I posted an epic video on Patreon this morning. Loads of stuff. You definitely don't want to miss that one. If you're not already a member, you can join with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment. Let's get into it.
Hi, my name is Franz von Holzhausen. I head up design for Tesla. I've been doing this for about 15 years now. I got into designing cars actually through my dad. My dad's a designer. I heard about this great school in Los Angeles called Art Center and started my career with Volkswagen and Audi. And then I've been through various companies through the years until I got the phone call from Elon one day. I was working at Mazda at the time and had been there for about 3.5 years. You know, we were doing really exciting stuff, but I also felt like Mazda wasn't really focused on sustainability. And I had been reading about this little car company that was using batteries and putting them in cars, and I think I read it in Popular Science or something, an article, and I was really intrigued, and then through a friend got connected to Elon, and we had a really great conversation. I went up to meet him at SpaceX and was just really impressed with what he was pulling together at that time. This was mid-2008, and so both Tesla and SpaceX were in their infancy and just really getting started. But I just felt like here's a company and a guy incredibly focused on sustainability, trying to do something that no other car company was doing and be 100% electric. And yeah, we connected, and I don't know, the rest is kind of the history that's around us.
What is it like to have Elon Musk as a boss?
Elon's a great boss. I mean, he's always pushing the boundaries, always pushing the limits, and always keeps us trying to be as radical as possible, never accepting the status quo, always trying to take one extra step to make sure something is perfect. He cares a ton about what the customer perception is. How does the customer relate to the product? What's the experience they're going to have, and he cares deeply about that, and so we are constantly worried about that as well and constantly focused on that. So, I mean, he's just, like I said, he's just always pushing us and getting the best out of everybody on the team.
Two very compelling insights about Elon Musk, both as a leader, a boss, someone to work for, always getting the most out of his employees, pushing them hard, going against the grain, thinking uniquely. In addition, always simultaneously thinking about the custom experience. I mean, it's so simple. This is why Tesla doesn't need to advertise. Their products are so good, they sell themselves. And why are they so good? Well, it's pretty simple. Elon is constantly thinking, what will the customer experience be like? How can we add more joy? How can they love this product even more? Think about the whoopee cushion feature, the fart mode in the Tesla vehicle. Who else will do that? No one. Why did Elon do that? Because it's fun, it's funny, and it'll help customers have even more joy and love the products even more. It's little things like that. For something so obvious, make products customers love, bring joy to customers' lives. So few CEOs seem to focus on this. This is one of Elon's core strengths. If you make an incredible product, everything else will look after itself. I mean, business 101, yet most people don't seem to understand this.
Are there any moments when the two of you disagreed on a design element? Any stories that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, we've agreed to disagree, and but ultimately he's the boss, so.
Talk about the Cybertruck design. How did this design come to be?
The Cybertruck is one of these rare moments where, in a way, form followed function. A lot of times we put the form in front of the function, especially in the automotive world, and it's really tough to mix the two. But Cybertruck is really born out of the idea of a different way of manufacturing a material that put the toughness on the outside. So we really wanted to use stainless steel as a material so that the hardest part of the vehicle was on the outside, not the delicate paint. And it felt right for a truck that's used in like a Swiss Army knife in any kind of environment. Has to be tough. So stainless steel is really tough to form, especially when you make it bulletproof or thicker to withstand impacts and not be damaged. And so we really looked at new ways of manufacturing it. You could only break form and form it in one direction. You can't do compound curves or things with the thickness of the stainless steel that we're using. So it really led us to a design that was really plainer, really simplistic, and was also a chance to break the paradigm of what pickup trucks have been for the past 60 or 70 years. They're the same. They're kind of this three-box shape. And
time for a very quick trip down memory lane. Do you guys recall back in 2019, second video I posted on this channel, Cybertruck is engineering genius. The main thesis of that video was try to explain to everybody who was confused thinking Tesla has designed the Cybertruck intentionally to look weird instead of the weird look being a result of function coming first and form being second. So many people confused about this. It was driving me bananas. I'm like, dude, do you not understand? It needs to look this way. And of course, we now have confirmation from the man himself. Again, it was pretty obvious. I was able to logically deduce this without having any conversations with Elon, Franz, or anyone at Tesla, because I'm like, it had to look that way. And Franz made an interesting point. Often in the automotive space, function follows form. In other words, make it look pretty and then make it function well. Whereas the Cybertruck was a total reverse. How do you make this thing strong as fuck, tough as fuck, durable as fuck? Stainless steel. And how do we form stainless steel? Oh, well, we can't use curves. Okay, next minute we need an exoskeleton. The whole reason I made that Cybertruck is engineering genius video was to highlight what people were not understanding. It's nice to hear this from the man himself. So many people were making the insane argument that Tesla had intentionally designed this thing to look like it had driven off a movie set, rather than the fact that it looked like it had driven off a movie set as a necessary consequence of making the toughest, strongest, most durable, utilitarian pickup truck of all time. And fun fact, many of the comments on the original Cybertruck is engineering genius video went something like this. Damn dude, I actually understand it now. I just thought this was butt-ass ugly, but now that I understand why it looks butt-ass ugly, I fucking love it and I've ordered one. Like, this literally happened hundreds of times. I'm not even kidding. Go read all the comments. There's 1,000, actually there's way more than that, maybe 6,000 comments or something. Read the reactions from people. There's so many people, this discussion looks weird, it's shit. Next minute people go, oh, that's why it looks like that. Hey, I get it now.
we just thought from an aerodynamic perspective, having a covered back, a sloping roof would also be helpful. And oddly enough, it may not look it, but the Cybertruck is an incredibly aerodynamic vehicle.
I'm curious if you have a favorite design, favorite feature, something that you're most proud of.
Listen very carefully and also pay close attention to Franz's expression.
I'm curious if you have a favorite design, favorite feature, something that you're most proud of.
Favorite one is the one that's coming. I think that it can't talk about.
Hold up, motherfuckers. Now one, his expression. He seems very proud of this design. Two, he is referring to the Tesla compact car, the more affordable Tesla, whatever the f you want to call it, because Elon has publicly said, we are going to make this thing, it is going to happen. That's what Franz is allowed to allude to. That is his favorite design. At least this is my interpretation. Let me know if I'm high. Interestingly, he followed up by saying his favorite one is the one that's coming that I can talk about. Notice that qualifier. The one that's coming that I can talk about. Not the one that's coming. The one that's coming that I can talk about, meaning there's one that's coming that he can't yet even talk about because Elon hasn't even dropped a hint. So, ladies and gentlemen, this appears to me, and this is why it's important to read between the lines, and sometimes you'll imagine things, but often you're not. It seems pretty damn fucking clear to me that there are two Tesla vehicles that Franz has worked on that have been designed, one of which is the compact and or more affordable Tesla, and the other is to be determined. Let me know in the comments below what it'll be. How about a Tesla van? No, seriously, this is pretty big. it sounds like Tesla has designed 2 new vehicles, the Compact and something else. And the designs are already done, or at least mostly done. But Franz can't talk about one of them because no one's actually dropped a hint that thing's coming yet. I'm leaning heavily towards a Tesla van, to be honest. It's the next logical step, but I could be wrong. Leave your speculation in the comments below. What is this other Tesla vehicle? And when I say van, by the way, just to be clear, I'm actually referring to a vehicle that can hold a lot of passengers and or potentially cargo. This may be a dedicated robo-taxi van, e.g. the Tesla Compact, maybe it seats 5 people. Then maybe there's a Tesla van platform with different configurations, one of which may be robo-taxi, designed to be fully driverless, no steering wheel, no pedals, none of that stuff. Different seating arrangement, maybe 6 to 8 plus passengers. In addition, that platform may also be expanded to commercial vans and so on. Now, I don't know for sure, this is why I'm spitballing out loud, but it seems pretty evident to me right now. 2 new Tesla vehicles, neither of which have been officially announced, but the Compact has been hinted at. So what's the other one? Let me know in the comments below. What's your speculation? And of course, curiously, Franz not only says the vehicle that hasn't yet come out is his favorite one, but also then qualifies it's his favorite one that he can talk about. Does this mean that if we were to rank order the favorite designs of any Tesla vehicles designed by Franz, does this suggest that number 1 at the very top of the list is a vehicle we haven't yet heard about, so we can't even discuss it, and number 2 is the one we know is coming, the compact / more affordable Tesla? That's the impression that I get. If we read into the tea leaves just that little bit more, this gives me a bit of a hint, a clue, some suspicion that the vehicle we haven't yet heard about is a radically different design, completely reconfigured, rethought from the ground up, specifically to be a dedicated robotaxi with a whole new layout internally. Could be wrong, but that's my hunch, and that is all it is. Now, to play devil's advocate, it is possible I'm misinterpreting, and what Franz was really saying is, well, I can talk about the Cybertruck because it's sitting right behind me, but I can't talk about the new compact car because that would be my favorite design. But this doesn't really seem logically consistent to me, because he can talk about the compact, he just can't talk about what it looks like, because Elon's already said this thing's coming. Speaking of the Cybertruck design.
I'm really excited about Cybertruck. I think this vehicle has the chance to be something really radical in a pretty normal space. So I'm looking forward to that shakeup and seeing them out on the street. And it's incredibly functional. It's not just the way it looks. It's as functional as any of its competitors, if not more. And so I think people use it in ways that we can't even expect, and it'll be great to see how that plays out.
Oh my fucking God.
The window smashing was definitely not a thing that we expected to happen. I had been in the back prior to getting on stage, throwing this ball at the window multiple times. It didn't break, and we showed video proof of that. But that moment was a little bit of a heart drop. But at the end of the day, it actually ended up being something really special. And I think after the fact, when I was talking with the people in the audience, they're like, "That was supposed to happen, right?" Well, at least the ball didn't go through the window and kill anybody or anything. So it became a meme very quickly, and I think it really helped Cybertruck take on a whole cultish being of its own, I guess.
Totally agree. I mean, obviously, this was unplanned. It didn't look good at the time, but it really has become a meme. I mean, Franz is literally wearing a broken Cybertruck Windows shirt design during this interview. Enough said.
How different will the production Cybertruck be from this vehicle behind you? And also, what's taking so long to get it off the production line?
There's a lot of new things in Cybertruck. When we're reinventing a product, sometimes we have to go through these processes just to prove it out. We had this idea that making an exoskeleton vehicle could work, and so we've been using that time to make sure that that actually is working. And the Cybertruck will look, for all intents and purposes, just like the one behind us. It's maybe slightly smaller, a few percentages, but in general, this is what the truck will look like. There was a moment, where I thought when I first joined Tesla that it would be great to see multiple Teslas in one drive experience around town, and now it's hard to go anywhere without seeing a bunch of Teslas. So it's great to see the impact that Tesla's had in people's lives, but also how it's changed the industry and really pushed this idea that an EV can be better than an internal combustion vehicle. And Cybertruck will continue that story.
Some people hate the Cybertruck design, the other people love it. How does that make you feel? Was that sort of the idea behind it?
It's pretty hilarious that in 2022 people are still asking this question. I mean, that's literally why I made the Cybertruck video initially when I launched this channel. The question there from the interview is suggesting that Tesla intentionally designed a weird looking vehicle to make a weird looking vehicle, not that the vehicle looks the way it looks because it needed to function a certain way. And I'm not sure if this has been edited up differently. I don't know if this is the same person who was asking the earlier question. If it is, this is embarrassing because Franz has literally responded to this already earlier in the interview. Anyway, let's see what his response is. Probably already told you.
It wasn't the idea behind it. I think it was just about making, again, the form follows the function and creating something that's different and taking a chance and being bold, but still being safe and functional and hitting all the attributes for what a pickup truck should be. And there's no reason why you can't change the recipe.
There are a lot of unique features on Teslas, like the door handles, for example. Why does Tesla decide to push the boundaries on small features like that?
Some of these small features, like the door handles, are just really great first touch points. The handle is the thing that greets you when you approach the car. And so to have the handle come out magically as you approach it and give you your first kind of handshake really gave a slight anthropomorphic feel to the car. Just humanized it a little bit, allowed you to not just be stepping into a really cold machine. It was a warming gesture. And it's also very aerodynamic to not have door handles hanging out in the wind on the side of the car. So we combine those kinds of things. Tesla isn't beholden to what's been done in the past, and we're always trying to push the boundaries and deliver on a promise of something fun, something enjoyable, and something that you would love to own and tell your friends about.
I was curious about the Semi. Was that the first time you've worked on a semi-truck before?
Actually, it was. And we've got really involved in what it means to be a driver, a user, how the routes work, how trucks are used. But not knowing that didn't stop us. In fact, it was quite liberating to approach it from a really clean sheet. And by having a completely different package than what exists currently, we were allowed to come up with a completely different end result, and one that's way better for the driver, the user of the product. There's much more interior cabin space. There's a much better view. We put our safety systems into it, including autopilot. There's no fumes, there's no vibrations, just a better overall working space for the driver.
Where do you get your inspiration?
My inspiration comes from anywhere. I mean, like looking out the window of a plane, or I used to be a cyclist, and just getting out on the road and clearing my head kind of allows for ideas to come, like running around with my kids. Inspiration really comes from anywhere, and you can't really pinpoint it or expect to be able to be inspired at a specific time or moment. It just have to be aware and open-eyed and open-eared and absorb.
Was there a car when you were a little boy that you loved, something that, inspired you, a favorite car?
I think my favorite car, my all-time favorite car, is a 62 250 GTO. I mean, it's quintessential, it's an insane car. But I'm also a big fan of this kind of wedge era, so the early Countachs and that whole kind of flat, low sports cars. Those were always posters on my wall. I'm driving a Model S Plaid right now, and it's an incredible car. It's arguably the best car we've built. Is the fastest car on the road. At any moment, you're faster than anybody else, but it's safe. You can put my family fits in it. I can put bicycles in it. It's a great all-around car. It's still, from the inception of the design that we started in 2008, it still looks modern and fresh on the road today.
I am curious how different it is to design for EVs compared to a gas-powered car.
Designing an EV is, and especially the way that we architect our vehicles with a battery pack on the floor and the drive units between the wheels, it really allows basically everything above that kind of skateboard or platform to be the people space, the space that we design for the peoples. There's no longer a big, clunky, massive metal in front of you, or a transmission tunnel and emission, exhaust pipes, etc., running down the middle of the car. That's open space. So we have a lot of opportunity to give back to the customer, give back to the owner of the car space. So, there's a front trunk. There's a Model S that we put 7 people in the car because we didn't have all these things that are traditionally found in an internal combustion engine layout vehicle. Semis a pretty radical approach to an industry that hasn't seen change in the architecture of the vehicle since the inception. And so by removing the motor and the transmission in front of the vehicle, we could put the driver in the middle for the best command view. We could move him really far forward and create a really teardrop shape around the driver that goes back to the cab for an incredibly aero-efficient package. So there's a lot of liberties that come with it. At the same time, cars right now have four wheels and they need to hold people and they need to be safe. And so there's a lot of challenges that we have to overcome to stylistically make the cars look pretty and not feel like they're over-regulated. And that's one of the challenges that we're always facing. Designing a car can happen in your mind pretty quickly. Cybertruck was actually, a quick sketch and the idea was there. Model S, Model 3, these cars were a lot longer to really evolve and try to really extract an athletic poise out of a vehicle, something that felt like it was efficient. We use the word efficient a lot, and so we're trying to design around this idea of efficiency. The inspiration can come from anywhere. You can formulate that into an idea quickly, or it can take a while to really getting from the idea to the production car. We're working on trying to do that in 2 years.
Insanely ambitious. I mean, seriously, from design to production in 2 years. Now, Tesla's not quite there yet, although Model Y, technically, yes. But this is just madness. Doesn't matter what Tesla's doing. Everything they execute with an extreme sense of urgency.
I think the future of transportation is going to change pretty radically. I feel like we're on the precipice of that with the advent of autonomy, with autonomous vehicles becoming the norm, and no longer do you have to drive yourself to a destination or be the driver of the vehicle, the vehicle is driving you. I think it changes the way that we use the vehicles, the way that we transport ourselves around. We're pretty used to it already in planes and air travel and trains and buses to some degree, but I think the next step is really the automobile. And I think that autonomy is going to really radically change the form of the car, how it's used, the interior space.
So back to my earlier speculation about the vehicle that Franz has already designed that he can't talk about. Notice he was just referring to the fact you can radically transform the interior space, etc. based on autonomy. The pieces of the puzzle are starting to fit together.
Potentially the ownership experience as well. I've worked at a bunch of different manufacturers around the globe, and I think Tesla's just unique in its all-in approach to sustainability. There's no kind of parachute, there's no backup plan. We sink or swim on the products that we produce. Elon is incredibly driven. We're driven behind that. We're all believe in the mission. And I think when you see the impact that we've been able to have in a few short years into an industry that has not changed in many years, it's rewarding in a way, and it's motivating, and it keeps us going because there's much more that we want to do, and there's, we need to change faster in order to help save our planet.
How do you feel about having your work in a museum?
I mean, it's not all my work. I represent a little bit of the piece of the puzzle here. This is an amazing focus on the Tesla team. It's nice to see, there's artwork and the representation of people from our studio, the engineering work, manufacturing, all of it coming together in one place. So I've been involved in quite a few of the projects here, and it's great to see it all come together in one piece. And it's also a nice walk down memory lane. When you're so focused on what's the next thing, sometimes you forget to look back at what you've accomplished along the way. And this is a really great showcase of the accomplishments that Tesla has done in the past 15 years.
What advice do you have to young designers, in particular auto designers?
Yeah, I think, it's when I was a kid, when I learned that you could be a car designer, it felt like being an astronaut. You hear these ideas of chase your dreams and go after it, but in that instance you really have to. There's opportunities for you to get involved and learn the craft and go to there's a few amazing schools that can really teach you and put you in a position to get involved in some of these manufacturers and places like this. And if you have any aspiration to do that, do it, because it's incredibly rewarding and it's incredibly fun. The reward is seeing how people spend their hard-earned money on something that you've created. and get joy and satisfaction out of it. That's the best feeling.
What a great interview. Lots of interesting insights about Elon Musk, his leadership, the design process within Tesla, the sense of urgency, confirmation that the reason the Cybertruck looks the way that it does isn't because Tesla wanted to make a weird looking vehicle, but because they wanted to make a functional vehicle, and the form followed function. And the bombshell of all bombshells, unless I'm so high I'm misinterpreting it, really does sound like Tesla has 2 new products already designed. One of which we know is the compact and or more affordable Tesla, and the other to be determined. Possibly a vehicle designed specifically around successful accomplishment of autonomy. Big thanks to Franz, especially for giving us some more stuff to speculate wildly about. And don't forget I posted a monstrous video on Patreon this morning, loads of different stuff, going further and further down the rabbit hole. If you can handle it, check out the latest video. You can join Patreon with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment, and I'll see you over there. Love ya.